All right, if you're the parent that's wondering what exactly is ADHD, I mean, you might have Googled it and it gives you a description, more or less a label for your child and a box to put it in. But a lot of people want to know, where did it start? How does it become this way? And how do we make it the best possible thing for my child? Because there's a lot of people that have attention and focus issues. Let's be honest, the world is so busy today, and it's easier to say, this is what the kid's doing, because they're unable to focus on the task at hand because there's so many distractions. Why is their brain paying attention to the distractions instead of something that is laid out in front of them? Well, they might be bored by what's laid out in front of them. They might not be challenged, because typically these children, as I've mentioned, always are brilliant and they aren't being challenged and they don't want to focus on something that's boring to them. So here's the deal. Our brain takes in information through the 7 senses. And yes, I know we know the 5 senses, but there's also 7. There's movement sense as well, proprioception. There's a balance sense in our muscles and in our joints. And our brain is typically, I can't say typically, it is mostly mechanoreceptor driven. What does that mean? Mechanoreceptors are movement. So you know, when your child was an infant, they were looking at motor milestones, movement milestones, to see, is your child's brain developing the right way? That's how they measure it. Well, we still measure it that way. From birth to 3, our children are making 1 million new neurological connections a second. There is a ton of stuff going on, and we know the body is not moving right. If there's some coordination issues, then there's definitely going to be some brain issues going on as well. Maybe they're not learning as fast, or maybe they're learning really fast, not picking up on social skills or on communication, or on social cues is what I meant to say, or compassion. You might be figuring out, like, oh man, they're really smart here, but socially a little bit awkward. Or man, they're really learning slow, but they love to connect and snuggle and have that one-on-one intimate connection. There's varying degrees of what's going on in our kids' brains and how it's picking up information. So our senses can have what we would consider like a broken volume control, where the senses are turned up too high or too low, and the brain is either not getting enough information or it's getting too much information. And that muscle movement is highly, highly important to be able to calm your brain, to be able to feed your brain. When we go out for a run, walk, whatever it is, you move your body, it starts to wake your brain up. You start to feel a lot better. Your brain is driven through that movement, through the electrical impulses that are being produced in the muscles. 60% of that is in the spine. And when they're not getting the right feedback from the spine, you start to see them look for it in other ways. They start to look for it in other highly dense proprioceptive tissues. The jaw, they might be a chewer, they might be a talker, or in the hands, they might constantly be using their hands, picking their nails, biting their fingernails. Now they're getting 2 proprioceptive inputs at the same time. Or in their feet, they might be tapping their feet, they might have to just constantly move their body, they might just be a runner or sensory seeker, because they're looking for that input to continue to fuel their brain. And if they've got a brain that's demanding more and more information because it's got a broken volume control, and it's asking for a ton of information from the body, your body's got to be able to pick up the slack some way. So you're going to see them be able to instead move quickly from one task to another when they have the ADHD. That's the hyperactivity portion of it. The ADD, it's a little slower. They're having a hard time focusing, but they're not moving on to the right task. Their brain is slowly processing the information that's around them. So how does it start? How do your senses get a broken volume control? Well, I gotta tell you that in our practice, in over 90% of the cases that we sit down, we talk to the parents, and we say, what is going on with your child? We are really good listeners to parents because they know their kids the best, and they can tell us the best story from conception till this day today, what's gone on with their kid and what kind of stress have they been under. There's 3 forms of stress: physical, chemical, and emotional. And we have found that there's 3 very specific stresses, and actually 5 things that we start to see in these children that do have focus and attention issues that started way back to conception, possibly in the womb with some stress during pregnancy. There might have been a birth intervention. There might have been some nursing challenges, a colicky baby. There might have been a lot of ear infections and some teething problems. There could also be a hyperactive toddler, some potty training problems, some gut issues. And then as a child that becomes school-aged, now they're having a hard time sitting, focusing, and behaving the way that you want to. If you want to learn more about this, if you want to know the neurological process behind all of this, if you want to know the science and all of the research and what we do, you need to join us on October 8th for our next Perfect Storm. It's going to be at the Co-op in Meridian in the little classroom on the left, and it's about an hour and 15 minutes of just purely us telling you a story about what we hear, delivering you a bunch of hope. And I tell you what, there's going to be a lot of information that you may have heard, but this is going to be in a different lens, and there's going to be even more information that you haven't heard that you need to know to fit all the pieces together for your child's health care. I look forward to seeing you soon.